Mr. Brown, I can't draw. Well, let's see if we can do something about that. This is The Art Project. Thanks for clicking on my video. If you enjoy it, please give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below if you got any questions, suggestions, or anything like that. So my students tell me all the time, Mr. Brown, I can't draw. Well, honestly, I don't really think it takes as much as you think it takes to draw. I mean, if you pretty much put the marker on the dry erase board, you're drawing. If you put the pencil on the paper, you're drawing. When we were little kids, we learned from our teachers how to draw letters, and we didn't moan and complain about being able to draw letters. We just drew the letters. Now, sure, there's a fancy word for drawing letters called writing, and we learned how to write, but writing is drawing letters. So the same holds true, I think, for drawing anything. If you apply yourself and you think about it enough and you practice, you'll be able to draw, whatever you want. So yeah, I've got a little more experience than most of my students do, or maybe more experience than you do even, but I still think if you put that experience behind you, that is, if you start practicing now and get lots of experience, you'll also learn how to draw. But let's look at these characters that I'm drawing on the board. They're pretty much made up of just some of the things that everybody knows about other things, other people, specifically faces. I didn't draw anything more than an eye. I didn't draw anything more than 2 dashes and a little dot for a nose and kind of an upside down Y for the mouth in that very first face that I drew. That's all it takes to let people know that there's a face there, something that looks like eyes, doesn't even have to look like eyes, just kind of be in the same place, along with the nose in the same sort of relationship to those eyes as a face would have, and your brain can pick out facial features. And then everything else that I've put here, if you look at these legs and these feet, they don't really look like legs or feet, but they are in the place where legs and feet go, and they kind of allude to the idea of legs and feet, until when all is said and done, I have, what everybody looks at and thinks some kind of a character. Now, some of these characters don't even have bodies. They just have legs and feet. Some of them have arms, some of them don't. Some of them are furry, some of them have horns. The truth is, you can draw. You just have to accept what it is that you draw as being good enough. And you can practice it and get better at it. You can erase things and change it and make it a little bit better. But the truth is, you can draw. Don't be afraid to do it. Put a couple of eyes where eyes go, and a little curly Q where the nose goes, and you've got a face. The body can pretty much be any shape you want it to be. It can be furry. It can be a ragged cloth of a ghost. It can be the bones of a skeleton. Just kind of picture in your mind what you think the skeleton looks like. And if you get it wrong, I don't think anybody's going to judge you. I could be wrong, but I don't think it's that big a deal. Here I am drawing some wings, and one wing doesn't really look like the other wing, but you probably didn't notice that until I said something about it. So, can you draw? Sure you can. Put 2 dots on the paper and call them eyes, and put a dot underneath those 2 dots and call it a nose, and a line under that. And another thing that I find interesting is, depending on the way that you curve the lines, you might have a face that looks like it's mad, or a face that looks like it's happy, a face that's glad, or a face that smirks, or you might have no expression at all. If you look at some of these ghosts that I drew, at first I just drew them with regular, very kind of round eyes with no expression. And then I decided I wanted them to have an expression, and I took my thumb across the top of the eyes and turned those into like either a kind of sad or complacent looking face, and another direction and made it look like an angry face. Put an eye patch on one of these marshmallow guys. I used what I kind of thought after a while looked like an egg, so I just made it look like an egg. I wasn't trying to draw an egg at first. I was just drawing random bodies to go on faces, bodies for a face to go on to. So anyway, don't be too hard on yourself. You draw, and if you draw enough, you'll get better and better at it. I think one of the main things about what I'm drawing here is the amount of confidence that I'm putting behind it. Do not underestimate how much and how important confidence is when you draw. Just draw like you know what you're going to do, and like you know what you're doing, and I promise you, eventually, if not on the very first drawing, eventually it'll actually turn out to look like you know what you're doing. So my goal here was just to fill the board with as many different faces and characters and critters as I can. My students tell me that the one-legged man in the middle is kind of one of their favorites. I kind of like the furry guys like I'm drawing right there right now. But anyway, hope you enjoy it. Try some of your own. Send me a link to your video if you do one. Leave me a comment in the comment section down below and share on your favorite social media platform. Talk to you later.